Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome back to another episode of Sakura no Mori Dreamers. When last we left off, well, something really very bad happened. Our lovely childhood friend recently confessed to girlfriend at that time. Well, she is no more. Let's just say. Let's dwell on that for just a moment. Okay, and let's get back into it, shall we? I realized I was staring at the white ceiling of a hospital room. It may sound like I'm making it up, but I really don't remember how I got there. I glanced to my side only to see a drip attached to my arm. They told me I'd fainted from malnourishment. Come to think of it, I couldn't quite recall eating anything lately. Sorry, I'm just now realizing I forgot to pull up my route guide. There we go. When was it that I last ate? I shut myself into my room and barely even went to the bathroom, most likely because I didn't put anything into my body to begin with. If I recall, at least with stool, a good amount of your excrement is actually dead blood cells, as it replaces those and so on and so forth. I don't remember the exact percentages and whatnot, but I know that is a thing. Miss Miyako took leave from work and nursed me. Hatsune, too, skipped her club activities and looked after me in the meantime. The two were crying at the side of my bed when I woke up. I was the one who caused these tears. My guilt was probably the only thing that kept me going. I couldn't make them sad any further. I went to school for the first time in a long while. The rumors of the incident seemed to have spread, and everyone watched me warily from afar in class. I like this distortion. It has a sort of like an almost watercolor kind of thing to it. I think it's a bit more in the realm of almost a watercolor mixed with a bit of RGB noise kind of thing. I really like that. It's a nice visual. I actually like art styles like this in general. I can't say for sure, but it's one of the art styles that if I could draw and paint, that I would want to do. I really like this kind of stuff. Even my best friend Sabe seemed to have trouble coming up with anything to say. I acted as though I listened to the class, but I felt empty inside. I only breathed so that Hatsune and Miss Miyako wouldn't be sad. That was all. I didn't aspire to anything else. I didn't hope for anything else. Later, I heard that the police actually suspected me at first. Madoka's parents vehemently defended me, and eventually, the police seemed to give up on that angle. I felt somewhat grateful for that, but also didn't care at the same time. Madoka's road bike was left in my house for some reason. I had no recollection, but apparently Madoka's dad handed it to me after the funeral. Would you keep it as a memento of her? That was what he said, apparently. Madoka wanted to give it to me too, and I refused, but it ended up in my hands anyway. Shinji started eating 3 times a day again, and looks like he's recovered on the surface since leaving the hospital. Just kind of looking at the general MC design we've already seen before, but yeah. Looking depressed MC design this time. However, I know he's still not the same inside. I can tell just from looking at his expressionless face. A cheerful dinner table has now become a distant memory. I want to do something to make him snap out of this. Is this a stairwell that he's in, or is it just a distortion of a kitchen with a stair off to the side, or a dining room rather with a stair off to the side? I don't know. For some reason, it makes me think of a stairwell. It actually makes me think of a very specific stairwell in a very specific visual novel, but we'll not get into that. I want to do something to make him snap out of this. I know that's not within my power. Shinji barely speaks anymore when we go to school. He kept chattering when Madoka was still with us, but I felt like I was starting to forget how to speak. Tokyo didn't offer anything particularly unusual, but when cherry blossoms bloomed in Ueno, I tried reading something from our Japanese textbook aloud and realized it'd been a while since I heard my own voice. I had shut myself into my own shell, ignoring both my family's thoughtfulness and my friend's sympathy. It's not healthy, but it's understandable. Why did it have to be this way? I knew it was my fault. It's weird. If only... Advancing is slightly odd. You can go ahead. I had insisted for us to go back together. But I didn't. Madoka. The one that had always been beside me. But now, she was nowhere at all. Well, that wasn't loud, I just bumped one of the legs of my desk. So if it was, I apologize. You can get back on your feet no matter what happens. That's why That wasn't true. I probably couldn't recover from this. I wasn't strong. I needed support. At times, I felt as though I had been forgetting something important. What did I forget? I was anxious when I left her at the pond. I didn't pay much attention to it because of how happy I was, but why did I feel that back then? We'd been there hundreds of times. I knew she wouldn't get lost. So what was it that my subconscious was trying to tell me back then? Madoka. Time slowly passed by. Summer drew near, but my body seemed like it lost the ability to sense heat. I wouldn't sweat even in direct sunlight. The mind had an undeniable effect on how one's body behaved. Yes, that is very true. I lost my parents, and then I lost my lover. Was I cursed? By something? Oh, I like that with the kind of distorted background. That's really, really cool looking. That is really cool. I like that a lot. It was as though a jolt of electricity passed through me as I saw it. Not because it surprised me. I understood. Right. This might be bad. Eh? It's looking at us. Run. I thought it was after me back then, but it most likely had targeted Madoka instead. The anxiety from that time lingered in my heart. I knew it. I knew all about it. Come at me. But the monster remained motionless, like it didn't even hear me. Instead, the family and a couple that had been nearby quickly moved away from me. I broke into a dash, but the monster had already disappeared by then. Coming. Hide. Wait, how did you enter the door upside it? Know what? I'm not even gonna think about it. You think my ability to see these weird things is connected to the aptitude of a hero? Hide reacted in his usual laid-back way, even when the conversation came out of nowhere. Ouch. Pop. Hide sat down on the sofa, holding his nose. Why don't you sit down first? did you mean exactly? Huh? You think heroes can defeat those monsters? Probably. How? I drew my face closer to his. I don't know. I just heard it from a guy. What? Who's that? I don't know. Have you decided to become a hero? Yeah. Good luck. I'll be cheering for you. Hide consoled me in the same way as always. I didn't care about heroes, but I could become one if it meant I could avenge Madoka's death. It didn't matter if I became a villain either. Those are fun stories, but it is very difficult to do them in a fun, good way. I've tried from experience to make stories. Make stories. That is technically true because it's in a few different mediums of heroes becoming villains and stuff like that, and it's actually really difficult to do in a way that really works. One of the best way to do it, I've found, and even then I wasn't super successful, although that's not necessarily related to the way, but the basic idea that I found to do it is to make them be fairly heroic, but not super heroic, but have a little bit of an edge to them, and not, I mean, like, oh, super edgy, but more of a ends justify the means, or losing control a little bit, or just little tinges of things that are not quite right, and letting those things kind of take over more and more. They become the ends justify the means, so you go full Ultron, and this the human race must be exterminated because the human race is a blight on the planet, or these criminals, they're going to get out and reoffend, so the only way to stop them from offending is to kill them, or their powers or whatever makes them lose control, and they stuff like that, and whatever. A little bit of creative thoughts with your friendly neighborhood YouTuber here. Ever since then, when I was outside in school, and there is, of course, the obvious turning evil because of a tragic event, the whole mind break sort of thing. Anyway, when I was outside in school, I started to look for monsters everywhere. Not like there was anything I could do even if I found them. I wasn't actually a hero. Others started noticing my weird behavior, and before long, no one talked to me anymore. Sabe was the only friend who still tried to treat me the same way, but I barely talked to him myself. Madoka. My sights were set on the other side of reality, the world of apparitions and monsters. And once that happened, I began to realize that the boundary between dreams and the real world was melting away. Shinji, can you come shopping with me next weekend? Oops. Sure, but what are you planning to buy? New tubes for the bike. You can get those online. I like the experience of going to the store. Yeah, I'm similar, but it depends on what it is. Like with groceries, I like to go to the store instead of ordering or having them delivered and whatever. A lot of that, though, is because I want to see what all of the meat, fruit, and fresh veggies look like, because I'm picky. So, that, and, obviously fucked with boxes and bent to shit cans and stuff I don't particularly like. Because I actually, one of the few times I've ordered canned stuff before, it was dented to shit on the side, and I think, well, it'll probably be okay. And it was dented bad enough that it exploded when I opened it. Not like huge major explosion, but it was like under pressure a lot more, and it like poofed everywhere. Anyway. And the people like Nakagawa will go bankrupt if everyone starts ordering everything online. Yeah, I'm also in the support local category. I try to And that's not always an option, but I do try to not go to national and global chains when I can and do like local or semi-local, stuff like that. When I can, of course. It's not always an option, but You really think we should be worrying about them? That's what makes us their best customers. Okay, whatever you say. Shinji. Hey, Shinji. Wait, don't go far ahead. Don't go so far ahead. Don't forget you got way faster than me. Shinji? Shinji. Why did you leave me? Why? That isn't it, Madoka. It was you who hurried off and left me. Don't do it. Don't leave me behind. Madoka. Madoka. Sometime after Madoka had passed away, the look in Shinji's eyes became noticeably abnormal. He kept looking around as though searching for something. I bet he's looking for Madoka. I started believing it too after Mom said it. It might be a good idea to take him to a doctor. But I didn't think that a doctor could do anything for him. Well, I mean, there is always antidepressants, antipsychotic medication for the whole, seeing shadows thing. There's a laundry list of stuff. And then, though, who could then? Shinji, you've got to hear this. Madoka has passed away. You have to accept it. Mom probably had to bolster all of her courage to say that. But Shinji's reaction got us completely off guard. He gave us a confused look as though we were both being weird. I know that. I see. Okay then. But then, what are you looking for all the time? I would really appreciate it if you would tell me honestly. I'm looking for monsters. I could tell that confused Mom even further. Mom called Dad in London and asked him for advice. Monsters. You mentioned something like that before. Something about some shadows or something. As such, I had a different idea than Mom. It wasn't something he said because Madoka passed away. He mentioned them a couple of times even before that. But then, why was he looking for them now? Could it be that he's blaming them for Madoka's death? But Madoka was... What is this? That's kind of, disconcerting. It may have sounded weird, but I felt awake for the first time in a long while. The number of monsters in our town increased, almost as though answering my call. These bastards. How was I supposed to tell which one of them was the culprit when there were so many? It'd been a while since I became able to see them, but they never appeared in such large numbers. I'd just glimpse one or two in a week at best. What made their numbers increase so much? Shinji? I ignored Hatsune and followed one of the monsters to the opposite direction from school. For some reason, I couldn't quite catch up to it. It didn't seem like it even saw me, yet its body would twist and move as soon as I got close. It was almost as though it was a thin sheet of paper that twisted and turned in the wind. Shinji, wait. Shinji. You've got to go to school, Hatsune. What about you? Please stop this already, Shinji. There were tears in Hatsune's eyes. Monsters don't really exist. But please return to your normal self. I'm sorry, Hatsune. Shinji, I'm already too far gone. That's not true. They're still around us. Huh? Monsters. Just what are these things? Hatsune regarded me with tears running down her face. But instead of tearing up again, her eyes lit up with a new sense of resolve. You're misunderstanding, Shenji. Hmm? Even if monsters really existed, they weren't the ones that killed Madoka. So please believe in the police, Shinji. I'll find the real culprit and... Fade to white? I stopped listening. Right. Of course. I headed to school to put Hatsune's mind to rest. I felt guilty for making her late. I was late without reason, but the teacher didn't even say anything. It seemed like everyone in school had started treating me like an aberration at this point. That made me feel awkward in a whole other sense. You should live up to their expectations, grow tentacles around your mouth, and start eating brains and have purple skin with an elongated head and float. Or that made me feel awakened in a whole other sense. Did I read that as awkward? I think I did. It was true that these monsters looked like they could be murdering people left and right. But it was also true that Madoka was killed by a serial killer. I learned this sometime after the incident, but obvious strangulation marks were discovered on Madoka's neck. So why was I obsessed with these things? I left the school before Hatsune had time to come and pick me up. I hastened my steps further as I passed by the gates, heading home for starters. It took me a bit of self-convincing, but I ended up using Madoka's road bike. It was a bit smaller than my previous one, but it wasn't uncomfortable to ride. Her dad gave it to me as a memento. It was a shame to let it rot in the garage. Speaking of mementos, I had one more. Unlike the bike, I actually asked for this one. Could I have the ribbon that Madoka always used to tie her hair? It was just a piece of cloth, yet it felt oddly warm when I touched it. I left the house without even changing. I sweated quite a bit. My body was very much... What the fuck am I getting? Notification? Fuck off. Fucking goddamn Google weather notification. I have that shit turned off for a reason, yet I still get them. Motherfucker. Anyway, I sweated quite a bit. My body was very much out of shape after such a long break. But I paid it no mind and continued toward the pond. Phew. I pushed the road bike deeper along the mountain path. My pants stuck to my sweaty legs, making it hard to walk. The air... thunder. I don't actually know if that picked up on the microphone. It wasn't that loud. It was loud enough for me to hear, but yeah, whatever. But anyway, it's, you know what they say, or at least what I say, Kuwabara, who's afraid of little thunder. The air felt kind of damp, as though it was about to rain. How appropriate. I hadn't been here since that day. I was avoiding this place. Why was I so obsessed with those monsters? When I touched Madoka back then, not her lips, but her shoulders, I almost remembered something. And now I knew what it was. I'll protect you, Madoka. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Madoka. I failed to keep my promise. Monsters? For me, they might have just been a convenient escape. There was a culprit, a man that breathed the same air as me. God damn it. It gave me a bit of peace if he got caught, or it'd give me a bit of peace if he got caught, but it was already a month and the police were none the wiser. The investigation didn't seem to progress at all. It probably was too late at this point. There was a culprit, not a monster that normal people couldn't see or touch. He was...